welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minute. We'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel one at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And here we are to discuss minute 77 at the end of the week. David, over at Jurassic-Pedia.com, we've got a write-up here for the big female raptor herself that does a fair bit in this minute and the next 2 minutes as well.
This was one of my articles, wasn't it?
Yes, it is.
Let me
so
open
you
the
can,
link here.
so you can, you can get to give us a title.
Yeah, this was if anybody's unaware, anybody who's listened to this podcast, Jurassicpedia kind of made up its own fan name names for the raptor just to in our universe just differentiate the different raptors. And for the Velociraptors from the third film, we named them sornaensis, which means from Sorna in Latin. And this is the alpha females page, so this is just a kind of a play-by-play of her role in the film.
Yeah, yep. And that's that. Yeah, as you mentioned before, that's the scientific name that the fans have made up. We haven't called her Brown or the big one or Raptory or something like the Rex in that. Going for the scientific names there just to sort of classify, because we know that they're different. They're not the JP Raptors at all.
Yeah, which those ones we called Nublarensis, meaning from Nublar. Of course, those both appear on Nublar and Isla Sorna, so occasionally will somewhat cause confusion. But it's just meant to refer to the fact that we first saw them on Isla Nublar.
Mm. And as you said, a good long play-by-play here of all the stuff she's been involved in, starting at the embryonics administration all the way through to Udesky and his death, and the cutscene of him holding the log, and up until here with getting her eggs back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was one that I should actually probably update the image for, because back when I did many of these images on the character thing, on the character bios of the dinosaur characters that we see throughout the movie, I kind of just had 780 DVD shots and a few kind of like HD screen caps that were floating around Google at the time.
Yep.
So yeah, this is definitely one that could use an upgrade, but at the same time, I mean, I'm kind of partial to its oldish charm. It's something that we had going on from before the transfer of Jurassic Park Legacy's Encyclopedia into Jurassicpedia.
Yeah, well, it's also too. It's only really an issue if you go to click on the images. Like the image has been small enough here, you can't really tell the image quality. And even if you're on a smartphone or iPad or something, you can sort of zoom in a little bit on the images before you actually click on them to link them to get them to open up. So
yeah, well, that was one thing that the webmaster designed and mined when he created Jurassicpedia was how smartphone friendly the site could be. You know.
Yep. Plus, there's the other issue too, like with all the contents and the whole encyclopedia, and that with its size, if you go and start adding 1080p high def photos in place of all the other ones, the space or the space storage, the allowance for what you can put on the servers, and that's going to jump incredibly high too.
True, but at the same time, Jurassic Park Legacy had a massive forum dating from when it closed in 2011. It had been at that point up running since 2005. And so the just general massiveness of the whole entire forum itself was actually something that had to be trimmed. I think the webmasters had to actually go and prune some of the older forum threads, because they went and backed up the site, and they was like, whoa, we got way too much here.
So yeah, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and you can check out the article here for the female raptor. I assume there's ones for the male as well. We might talk about them next week with minute 78.
I don't believe we ever did one for the male, just because he never seemed beyond the one with a broken stripe. Most of them don't really have a kind of uniqueness to them, so we never really did articles for any of the males.
There is of course, I'll just click on that. There is a separate article though for the sornaensis and the sauna. This pack though, isn't there?
I'm not sure. I believe we did one for the worker village raptors, but I don't recall. I think it was Sickle Claw who did the ones for the worker village raptors, but I don't think we did one for the Jurassic Park 3 ones.
Alright, so head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com where you can find the article for the big female and general articles for the other raptors we see in the franchise as well.
Yeah, well, the bones will still be there when we get back. That's a great thing about bones, they never run away. You hear that?
The ocean!
Dave, ready to get into minute 77?
Sure.
As we enter minute 76 of Jurassic Park 3, the group had heard the ocean and was starting to run through the foliage until the male raptors come on the scene and cut them off. As we open on minute 77, after Grant realises that they want the eggs, he then says to the others, otherwise we'd be dead already. At the 6-second mark, as the group huddle together, the big female enters the scene, striding right up in front of Amanda. Grant tells everyone to get down and that she's challenging them. At the 22nd mark, the female continues to walk forward and lowers her head by Amanda and starts to rub her snout on her face and sniffs her hair. At the 32-second mark, while watching on, Grant says quietly, "She thinks you stole the eggs." Paul tells Amanda to get behind him, but the female raptor snarls and Paul scurries back to where he was. At the 38-second mark, the female raptor continues to smell Amanda's hair and starts rubbing its face up against hers. At the 55-second mark, panicked, Amanda gasps to Grant, "Give me the eggs." And as the minute ends, Grant opens up the camera bag to reveal the 2 raptor eggs still inside.
As we open here, everyone's completely surrounded, and while it's probably not meant to be a tie back to the original, I do like the similarities here to the group. And Grant once again being surrounded by raptors in the climax of the film. Although he's not going to have a trainer sort of swoop in and save him this time, although we'll get there in a couple of minutes' time. Alan whispers in a frightened voice they want the eggs, otherwise we'd be dead already, which those few minutes he spent studying the animals hiding behind that tree, he picked up their speech or their language pretty quickly.
I think he realized that even back as far as the aviary, that the raptors were pursuing them for the eggs, and that the only reason they were alive in that moment was because they had them. No, because remember the last time he encountered raptors, they kind of just outright went after him. They didn't really kind of have eggs or anything in the. They were just plain hunting.
Yeah, and even when they surround him before Eric intervened in the jungle, they surround him. They don't do that. If you're going to die, or if they want to eat you, then they're going to eat you.
Exactly.
A la Muldoon or the guys in Hunt, even the hunters in long grass. They didn't come in, surround them, and do all that. They just killed.
Yep.
And it does go back to that line too from the aviary. Those things think we have the eggs. What are we going to keep them for? And Alan says, "What if they catch us without them?" So, which would have been interesting if they didn't have them. How long this would have went, or if it had gone the same way. But we get some quick cuts here, and I'm not a real fan of. It's almost Michael Bay style of just circling the raptors as they appear and get closer. It's a little bit disorientating having this camera rotate the way it does here. But
oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but the pack keeps communicating with each other as the big female slowly walks in closer to the front of the group, and we mentioned at the end of last minute, but here just the animatronics, how good they look, and just the cuts between animatronic and CG looks really good. And there's always been the criticism of Joe Johnston for not really knowing how to work with animatronics and all that sort of thing, and that's maybe why the Spinosaur looks as bad as it does during the Rex fight in some places and all that. But here, unless it was Stan on set that was choreographing all this, it looks good.
And of course, I was going to say, of course, Stan was always on set when his animatronics were being used. He was big on helping choreograph the animatronics just for the safety alone of the actors,
Yeah.
For one reason.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that he was helping out, because he was, I don't think he was actually the second unit director, but he was directing scenes even for Spielberg in The Lost World. He directed the scene with the kid in the bedroom when the Tyrannosaurus in San Diego and that, so I have no doubt he was heavily involved like that as well here for Jurassic Park 3. But it's I see that sometimes, criticisms of the film, people, Joe Johnston didn't know how to do this or do that, but I think that's a bit of a bit wrong to be saying.
I would definitely agree, just because, the man came out of practical effects on Star Wars. He was one of Lucas's guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Just Boba Fett alone, all him.
He's credited on Indiana Jones as well. He done Last Crusade, didn't he?
I'm not sure how much of Indiana Jones he did. I'm just very familiar with his Star Wars work.
Well, but then even go to Jumanji as well. Like, there's a lot of the same things, CG and practical, and that. He done Jumanji, didn't he? Or am I thinking the Rocketeer? Rocketeer.
Yeah, he did Rocketeer.
Yeah, Rocketeer. So if you got someone flying around, you're gonna have to do that CG and the practical stuff of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Alan tells everyone to get down, and that she's challenging us. And we know he's been sort of doing his research on the raptors. He knows everything from the nublar as well. But I wonder how much of animal or raptor behaviour he's been studying as well, because he does seem to be on top of the whole situation here.
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like that he applied some of the things he saw in Jurassic Park to the fossil record that he was putting together with the raptors. And I have no doubts that he would have heavily studied the raptors and behavioral aspects from the fossil record alone,
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely. How much of that stayed in the fossil record over these years as well? Where some people might be just thinking he's making some stuff up, but but we get a high up shot here too, looking down from above as the group kneels and the raptors sort of keep on walking in closer, and that's when Alan Sully unshoulders his bag as the big female keeps on walking in closer, and again here just that blend of CG and animatronic as the female's walking in. It really is a highlight of the film.
It is.
And then she lowers her head down and sort of hisses at Amanda and starts smelling her. And we mentioned a couple of minutes ago with the Spinosaur actually bashing into that crane boom. And even here, across this minute and the next, where the raptor's sort of rubbing its head on Amanda's face. And even though it's a latex skin, it's got the like the pebbling on it and a steel frame under it. It's I just imagine the direction to Amanda, just let your head sort of go floppy, so if it does go too far one way, it doesn't hurt, or you don't get a blood nose from it. Because even though it's not the big T-Rex or Spinosaur animatronic, it's still a powerful machine, and it's rubbing up against your face.
Yeah.
But as the female lowers its head down, Grant whispers to Amanda she thinks he stole the eggs, which we know Amanda and Paul were standing hugging near one of the nests, and maybe they've picked up her scent, but I suppose Billy's not here anymore. His scent would be all over those nests if he was still here. Which means they must be smelling the eggs and not the scent of the person that stole them, otherwise they would have gone down the river or something, unless they know Billy's nearby or they've been nearby to find Billy and come across these people instead.
It's a possibility.
But Paul tries to crawl in front of Amanda, saying, "Get behind me," but the female raptor snarls at him, and Paul pretty much crawls backwards back to where he was. He's not going to put up any challenge for the raptor. And that's when the female returns to Amanda and sniffs her face again and starts rubbing its head up against hers. And I'm sure there's been some deviant art or slash fiction art from these two rubbing their heads together. I don't even want to go there. Amanda surprisingly stays pretty calm over the whole thing. With this carnivore, you just imagine the smell of its jaws. Well, I mentioned before too about how much lions smell in zoos, just the smell of decay on the carnivores.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd be scared out of my mind. But her breasts become gasps as she says, "Give me the eggs." And as the minute ends, we cut to Grant opening the flap on Billy's camera bag to reveal the 2 eggs inside. And I was going to Google how long chicken eggs could sort of go fertile before the embryos die, but I don't think it'd be a completely different story here. They're in the tropics, and in that insulated bag, they may have stayed warm.
Yeah, I also know this is one of my friends'